We've done a bit of building, but we haven't used one of the CDK commands very much yet, or I don't think in fact at all, and that is the diff command. So the diff command is trying to provide a friendly representation of any kind of changes between what's currently deployed and what you're about to deploy next. So let's start off with a new stack, and let's call this my queue stack. And I think you can guess what we're going to put in my queue stack. So let's go and create that as a class. And we'll do the usual song and dance to export a class called myQStack extending stack. And we're going to have a constructor with the scope, which is a construct. Whoops. The ID, which is a string, and any properties, and we're going to use the default type of stack props. Then we're going to call the parent constructor with those 3 arguments. And then we're not even going to make a private method this time. We're going to go straight into it in the constructor and create a queue. And we're going to call it myQueue. I don't think we need any properties actually, probably fine with the default. So let's give that an import inside of our getting started file here. Give that a little format, and I think we've got to provide those stack props. There we go. And then let's do an npm run diff. And you can see here that we've got 3 changes. We've got a parameter being added, we've got a condition being added, and a resource being added. Oh, sorry, I should say also a rule. And the parameter, condition, and rule are not things that we've added ourselves. Those are things that CDK has added. And that's to do with the bootstrapping process. You can see that very familiar error message there. CDK bootstrap version required. Please run CDK bootstrap. But the actual resource that we're interested in here is the SQSQ. Let's run a deploy, and then we can see how the diff changes. So we've done our deployment. Let's run the diff. And now it's empty. Lovely. So there we go. We ran a diff, we observed some changes, we deployed the changes, and then there's nothing in the diff. So let's go and have a look for our queue in the console. So we can pop into SQS, and there we go, myQStack, myQueue, lovely. So what happens if we change or delete this queue and then run a diff again? So I'm actually going to go for the nuclear option. I'm going to delete this. And we'll put in confirm there, we'll click delete, and we'll say, yep, happy days, we're done. So let's run another diff. And there are no differences. And you might be thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense. The queue's gone and CDK says that nothing's changed, there's no differences. The reason it does that is because it's comparing the CloudFormation template that it presents to CloudFormation, the latest synthesized version, with what CloudFormation already holds as what's been deployed. So if anything changes outside of CloudFormation, it's not going to get picked up in the CDK diff process. Now there's no CDK specific workaround for this or process for dealing with this, but we can make use of something that's already present in CloudFormation. So let's pop over to CloudFormation and let's find the stack that we are interested in. So let's go with myQStack, and we can go on stack actions and then detect drift. And we're going to give that a little while to complete. It will take a little moment. Obviously, if you have more resources, it's going to take longer. And let's see if we can go into stack actions and view drift results, see if it's ready. Okay, so we're still waiting here while it says not checked. All right, so after a refresh, we can see that it has drifted, and it shows you the resource status here per resource that's changed. This SQSQ has drifted, and it's drifted because it's been deleted. And we can click on the details here, and this will show you more of a detailed diff if something has changed rather than the resource actually just having been completely deleted. So once we've got this, we need to recover. So let's go back to our queue stack. Let's take the template here. I'm just going to pop this into a temporary file. So I'm going to use a scratch file, and I'm going to copy the full path to the temporary file. We will go to update stack. We'll do replace current template. We'll upload a template file. We'll choose the file. And then we will go and find that template, click next, and next again, and next again. And we can actually see what's going to happen here in the change set. And there we go. See, it says no changes, there are no resources to be changed. So if we try and click submit, Then we get update in progress, and nothing happens. And you might be thinking, well, you know that the stack's drifted, you know that resource is gone, so why hasn't it been recreated? And CloudFormation won't recreate the resource even if it knows that it's been drifted, and it won't update it if it knows it's been drifted. What we need to do is we need to revert the template back to the current situation that we find ourselves in the console. So, or in AWS, not necessarily the console. So in this case, we're going to get rid of this queue resource because we deleted it in the console. And of course, if you can delete it in the CLI, it does the same thing, same effect. Then we can go back, we can update our stack, we can upload a template file. We're going to choose the same file because we've just updated it. And we go through all the steps here. And this time, the change set preview we get is going to look a little different. There we go. You can see that we are removing our queue resource. We click on submit, and we'll give it a moment to update. So you can see things in CloudFormation implying that the queue is being deleted, even though the actual physical resource is already gone, and that's because CloudFormation is deleting the logical resource from its sort of state, its view of the world. Now, if we return to CDK, we can find that there's a diff. There we go. There's our queue, and then we could run npm deploy again to have our queue reinstated. All right, and with that deployment done, we get our queue back. So let's go to the console, let's find SQS, and there it is, my queue stack, my queue. Now, an important note about drift detection is that not all resources are imported. So we're going to have a look at this page in the documentation, which is resources that support import and drift detection operations. And you can see just from the fact that there are some gaps on the right-hand side here that there are resources that don't support drift detection. So if we change them, then drift detection will report that there is no drift, even if something has happened to it. So you might think that a good example of these would be an event bridge rule that we've looked at recently. And if we look in events here, there's no note for rule here. There's no AWS : events : rule. And if we click into one of these and we pop up to the level above it, I'll tell you what, let's go back to the, oh, here we go, here's the proper menu. Yeah, if we go to Event Bridge, you can see that a rule exhaust exists, but that this wasn't listed as something that we could import and wasn't listed as something we could do drift detection on back on the documentation page here. So it's just something to bear in mind that drift detection isn't perfect, not everything's covered, but it is a way to monitor our stacks and see if anything's happened in the console. I think as a general piece of advice, I would say try your best to avoid changing things outside of CloudFormation. It's normally a lot of effort to get it back into a happy state, shall we say, or a consistent state. So if you can, then just run things through CDK or CloudFormation.